There are so many interesting, horrifying, or downright weird things in this big world of ours.
Each week, we'll bring you a new true crime story that has little to no coverage in English.
Let us do the translations so you don't have to. I'm Laura.
I'm Petra.
And I'm Viktória. Welcome back to the podcast Translation Murder. So today it's my turn to bring you another case. And as I think I hinted at this in the previous episode, that it's going to be a pretty horrible one, also pretty sad. I think it might be the worst that I've talked about so far. You can tell me in the end.
Do you think it's the worst one out of everything that we've done so far, or
I don't know, maybe. Now I feel like that it might be also because I did like a bunch of research on it. So it feels like that because of that as well, because I kind of got involved a little bit, of course, but it's pretty bad. I actually need to give some trigger warnings in the beginning that there's, murder, of course. I guess everyone who's listening to this already
Maybe
assumes
that's like
that.
a trigger warning for this whole podcast.
Yeah, that's like a general trigger warning, but also there's gonna be mentions of sexual abuse and child abuse as well. So I don't know if anyone is like very sensitive to that. I guess everyone is, but yeah, if you're very sensitive to this, then maybe skip this episode. And well, the two of you don't have a choice. I guess you signed up for this.
You can just mute.
Yeah. But yeah, it's pretty bad. And I've actually been planning to talk about this case for a while now. But then I always kept postponing it because there were a lot of different sources to look into. And there was one particular source that I wanted to read. There was this book that I heard about soon after I first read about this case, which was written by a Hungarian writer called Szilárd Rubin, who got interested in this case and kind of started investigating it himself in the late 60s. So the case itself happened in the 50s, like early 50s, but he got into this in the late 60s. And then he like basically throughout his whole life or remaining life, he was kind of struggling with trying to figure out what really happened and couldn't find all the information. And yeah, so he was working on this book for decades. He died in 2010, I think. And he said that he wanted to write like a factual novel, so kind of novel style, but based on facts. And this book actually then got posthumously published in 2012, but it's unfinished, so it's not like a complete story, but some parts of it are complete, but it's a little bit fragmented. So yeah, I really wanted to read this book before I talked about the case, and now I have.
Yeah, that's already sad that he didn't see the conclusion of the case. Like it's just, or did he see? Okay,
well, I mean, it's not really exactly that because the conclusion part was clear. I don't know. Well, some things he was questioning some things, and there are some details that are, I don't know, like not maybe totally obvious, but yeah, he was, I don't know, like he got very involved in this whole case, and maybe that was also one of the reasons why he couldn't finish writing it. But then I think he had some alternative theories about what happened.
Okay.
The story itself, as I said, it takes place in the 50s, and it actually starts with a series of disappearances in the town of Törökszentmiklós, which is actually, you know what? I will put it in the chat for you. Not like you have to pronounce it, I guess, but just in case. Where's the chat? Can you see this? The pronunciation is there as well.
Törökszentmiklós.
Yes.
Törökszentmiklós.
Exactly, yes. Yeah. Do you want to hear the meaning of this name?
Yeah.
Well, Miklós is a person's name, right?
Yes.
Oh.
Saint is saint.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Okay.
Török is it means Turkish.
Turkish
So
So
Saint
literal
Turkish
translation would
Miklós.
be
Michael.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Turkish Saint Michael. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a Hungarian Saint Michael too, or just Turkish?
Well, actually, like now if I'm starting to like kind of think about if that would make sense, I think it would make sense as a town's name as well. But I don't think there is. Yeah, but anyways, you don't really need this name or like to pronounce it, but if you want to, now you can.
Thank you.
So Törökszentmiklós is a town in the northern Great Plain region. It's in central Hungary, so you know, for once I'm not going back to southern Hungary to Szeged, which is what I usually do, or in many of the cases I did, but not this time. About 20,000 people live here today. I guess in the 50s it was less. I didn't look up the exact number. The closest bigger city to Törökszentmiklós is Szolnok. And you might remember that I mentioned this city before. This is actually quite close to Mortfű, which is where episode 2, The Monster of Mortfű, took place. So it's about the same region.
Mm.
And it's also around the same era in the 50s. And you might remember that the 50s is well in the communist era in Hungary when the country was under a Soviet imposed communist rule. I wouldn't maybe call it an occupation, but sort of. And this basically meant that the Soviet Union established control over the country's political and economical and military affairs. And as part of this control, there were Soviet troops stationed all over the country in different cities to maintain order and the general like dominance of the Soviet Union. So just as context. Petra, you're
And
muted. Maybe it's intentional, but just saying if it's not.
Yeah. Sorry,
Okay,
I
good.
needed to sneeze, so I muted
Oh yeah, no,
myself.
it's fine.
I have
Just thought
some
I'd
little
mention it.
flu. Yeah. So I might be muting myself once in a while
Mm.
if I need to make some ugly flu noises here.
That's okay. Laura, did you want to ask something?
no, I was just thinking that this kind of piggybacks off of the episode that I did, like with the Soviet stuff going on.
Mm.
And yeah, so yeah.
Yeah,
But
I
this,
guess a lot of the cases from, well, probably from the 20th century in general will be
well, yeah, in
will have these kind
Hungary,
of similarities. Yeah,
yeah, it's quite a long era, communist era.
yeah, yes. So as I said, there were a series of disappearances. So I thought first I would just list these for you, tell you what happened, and then we can talk about the details and the investigation after that. The first disappearance happened on October 13th, 1953, when 11-year-old Maria Komáromi was sent to the local vegetable shop to buy potatoes. Her parents asked her to do this because they had to run some errands. I think they had to go to the local mill. So they asked her to buy the potatoes and then cook dinner at home for her brother by the time they get back home from the mill. But by the time the parents returned home, she still wasn't there. There was no dinner. So first they were thinking that, okay, I guess she might, I don't know, she might got bored of waiting in line and went to do something else, but she's probably going to come home. So first they were kind of annoyed, but even later during the evening, she didn't return. So then, of course, they got scared and they immediately reported her missing at the local police. The police didn't start investigating immediately. They said that I think there has to be at least 24 hours before they actually start looking into this, or before they consider it like a missing person officially. Which is, now we know, that not the smartest idea,
Yeah.
especially when it's an 11-year-old. But this was in the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
So then they started looking for her, but overall the police didn't really put like a huge effort into this search, even though her parents were showing up at the station every day asking about it, sort of, or like very frequently asking about it, if they found anything about her. But then Yeah, so basically then the police were eventually just saying that, well, she, what did they say? What do you think? That she
Don't say
probably
that she
ran
ran
away.
away. Are
Yeah,
you
that she
fucking
probably ran away.
an 11-year-old? Yeah. Okay. Great.
I mean, yeah, a little bit different times, but still,
I mean, I guess in the
they
50s,
were
an 11-year-old would be equivalent to like a 16-year-old, right? Or 18 or
probably, yeah,
something.
and there will be other signs of this as well later in the story. Um, but then there were actually some witness testimony saying that they saw her waiting in line at this vegetable shop. So there were some people who saw her at some point during this afternoon. Okay, so this was October, and then nothing suspicious happened for a while, but then the next year, so 1954, on June 9th, 13-year-old Piroska Hoppál was sent to Törökszentmiklós. I think maybe she didn't exactly live in the city, but somewhere close by. She was sent to the local market to sell a basket of eggs and also a bunch of like chicken or chicks, so baby chicken. And her mother told her that she should use the money that she makes at the market and also an additional 200 forints to buy some clothes for herself and her brother, clothes and shoes at the market.
How old was
And
she
so,
again? Sorry.
13.
13, yeah.
She was a seventh grader.
Mm.
Say at this point, this sounds like some kind of grim story, like this
Mm.
children going for the market to do errands and then
Yeah,
they get kidnapped by the
yeah,
I mean, was it the
kind
same
of.
market? Like that? Is it the same kind of
No,
area?
well, I mean, it's the same or the same city at least. I think the other one, the previous one was like a vegetable shop, and this was the
Mm.
marketplace. I think it was not the same location, but I might be wrong. Yeah, so this was in the morning when she went to the market, and the plan was that because school for seventh graders on that specific Wednesday was supposed to start at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So the plan was that she goes to the market, she sells the eggs and the chicken, and she buys the shoes and clothes, and then she comes home by noon to have lunch. So that way she would have had enough time to make it to school by 1 p.m. But as you can imagine, she didn't come home and no one knew where she was. People saw her at the market, but then she just kind of disappeared.
yeah.
Okay, any questions? Can I go to the next one?
Yeah.
Oh, yes,
I am
please
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
expecting a pattern here.
Yeah, and I'm expecting
There's
like 5 or
more.
6 of them. How many are we
Uh,
going to expect actually?
yeah, maybe I should tell you. There's five
Ah,
and
I was right.
five
I
and
was
a
like 5 or
half.
6. Oh, I even said 5 or
A
6.
half?
So I was
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
wow.
You were correct.
Okay.
So this was June, and then the next disappearance happened in August 9th, so exactly a month later, when
2 months.
17-year-old.
2 months later,
Oh,
because
2 months
June to
later.
August. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's actually true. 2 months later, on August 9th, when 17-year-old factory worker Irene Shimon disappeared. On the same day, when she disappeared, in the morning of the same day, she announced to the woman that she was renting a room from that she will move out. She will look for a different place, or she will move in with her friend. She's planning to move out. And this landlady found this very surprising because they had a good relationship. She really liked Irene, and she described her as a very kind and funny girl. Everyone liked her. Everyone thought that she was really fun to be around. They also mentioned that she seemed kind of younger than her age. And then this landlady reminded her that she had some, I don't know, like some ID that expired or some papers that had to be taken care of. So she said that, okay, today I will go to Budapest and take care of these papers and then return by train in the evening. So she left, and then her fiance or boyfriend was waiting for her at the train station in the evening, but she didn't return. So I read that the boyfriend thought that she probably left him
Ran
and just
away.
ran away. Yeah.
With some city boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she was a little bit older, 17. So Okay, but 2 days later, so August 11th, there's another disappearance. 12-year-old Mária Botos traveled to Törökszentmiklós from Mezőtúr, which is another city not too far away, to visit her aunt and uncle. Her parents got a letter from her aunt that they basically invited her for vacation to come over and stay a while at their place. And what they agreed on in the letters is that the parents will put her on the bus, and then she will get off the bus in Törökszentmiklós, and then she will be waiting at the bus stop in front of the city hall or something like that. Basically, at the bus stop, she would just get off the bus, sit on the bench, wait for her aunt to pick her up. So this was the plan, and there were also some, I think, her dad's co-workers who were traveling with the same bus, and they were supposed to like just keep an eye on her. So they said that, yeah, she was fine. She was just sitting on the bus. She got off. She sat on the bench. But then when her aunt got there to pick her up, she wasn't there anymore. So actually the aunt thought that, well, maybe she just didn't come at all. So it's not like they could, I don't know, WhatsApp each other. They communicated through letters. So she just thought that, okay, something came up and she isn't here. So she just went home. So this wasn't suspicious to anyone for a while. No one was thinking that something happened to her. And then the next day, when her father's co-worker, I think the father sent this co-worker who was passing by the city to just kind of check on them, that was everything fine during this travel. So she stopped by at this relative's place, that like, oh, is Maria here? Is everything fine? And then they were like, no, she's not here. She never showed up. So then obviously they started panicking because they realized that, well, no one knows where she is. But there were witnesses who saw her
But
at
do you
the
know
bar.
how much time after like she appeared at the bench that the aunt was like late, or?
So I read that the bus was usually late. I think it was supposed to arrive at 8 p.m. And the aunt got there at 8 p.m. But the bus wasn't there yet. So she realized that, oh, I could like step into this like store to, I don't know, take care of something. She wanted to buy something quickly because she knew that the bus is late. So she has like a little bit of time to take care of this errand. I don't remember what it was. So she just did that, like came back, I think. Well, I didn't see the exact time, but I assume it was like 10 minutes or something later. And by that time, the bus already arrived, or like maybe 15 minutes or something. But
Yeah.
she wasn't there. So this had to be in like a very short time window.
Yeah, I'm just thinking in order, because the bus probably isn't that big, like not a double decker, fucking filled up
Yeah.
bus. So like for the time that it takes the bus to arrive, people to get out, people to kind of disseminate, the area.
Mhm.
And then, yeah. So yeah, I would think
But
15,
there
20 minutes.
was, yeah, but there were some witnesses who saw her sitting on the bench. I think not only these like co-workers who were traveling with the same bus, but others. So yeah, she wasn't there, so everyone kind of started panicking. And then by this time, the police started, well, taking this more seriously and actually looking into where she could be. But before, before they found any more leads on her disappearance, 3 days later, on August 14th, there was another disappearance. 12-year-old Katalin Szőke was getting ready to leave from home. She was invited to a wedding by maybe relatives or friends. She was very excited to go to this wedding, and only she was supposed to go alone, so not with her parents. So she was getting ready, and she actually left from home. Her parents told her that you have to get back by 9, but she didn't get back by 9. And because this other disappearance just happened a few days before, I think actually the disappearance of the 17-year-old girl was maybe not raising that many red flags because she was older, and people just assumed that she ran away. But this other case 2 days before, or 3 days before, sorry, that was already like a cause for panic. So because she didn't get home by, I don't know, not even 9:30, they already got really scared that something happened to her. And reported her disappearance to the police.
Yeah. So it was already in the news and everything.
Yeah, so it was already in the news, and by this time, everyone was like started talking about these disappearances. And I read that actually there were not only these 5 young girls, but there were 2 teenage boys who also disappeared around this time. So people were just thinking that, oh my God, it's like 7 children who we don't know what happened to them. Actually, these 2 teenage boys they actually ran away, so they were found later.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they were
Bad
fine.
timing. Yeah.
Yeah, but people were panicking, and there were a lot of speculations on what could be behind the disappearances. So one of the speculations that people had was that it's related to the Soviet soldiers who were stationed at the city. So this was one of the ideas. Then some people were saying that it's the Jews. So there were some Jewish people who returned to the city after the Second World War, some survivors. And then some people were saying that the Jews are kidnapping the children to use their blood to rebuild their synagogue, which was,
Funny how
well,
this always comes around, like the QAnon shit and like the,
Yeah.
the
yeah.
adrenochrome bullshit. Like, people need to
Well,
become like more original ideas. Like Jesus Christ, this is like,
yeah. Yeah, and then
uh,
it's like it's never the Jews,
no,
but
it's
then
never, it's never the Jews.
But it's the scapegoat thing.
Yeah,
yeah.
Like,
yeah.
But yeah, so they had this like the Soviet soldiers, the Jews, or then the traveling like Romani people
I
who,
was just about to say that. I was just about
sure,
to guess. I'm like, oh, is it also the Romani people by any
Mm,
chance? Oh God.
yeah,
sure.
that's the other scapegoat.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then there were these like
sadly.
kind of general ideas that it could be just like travelers who are passing by or passing through the
Mm,
town by car. But then also, I don't know, that never sounded too likely, or like, it's like children disappearing from the same city.
yeah,
So
yeah.
like why would it be, I don't know,
I
people
mean,
passing through the town?
yeah, I mean, like with the August 9th, 11th, and 14th cases, it could be because I mean, what? That's less than a week, someone's sticking
True.
around there.
Yeah.
But then if you are indeed linking all of these together, like from October 13th, 1953 to August, that's almost a year, like, 10 months or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
and there was quite a big time gap between the first and the second case.
Mm.
So maybe like those first 2 were not immediately suspicious, but yeah, by this time, this was just like very unusual. So people were so upset about this that even a riot broke out in the city, and a crowd of more than 1,000 people gathered in front of the police station and demanded them to figure this out, which is kind of a
Mm.
lot. I should have looked up how many people lived in that town today. Now it's 20,000, but I'm sure it was less. But yeah, 1,000 people, that's a big portion of the population.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so there was a turning point on September 2nd, 1954. So a couple of weeks later, like 2 weeks after the last disappearance, when the police got a new lead. So what happened the night of September 2nd is that 21-year-old Istvánné Balázsi. So we know by now, I guess, about the Hungarian naming tradition. So basically, Mrs. Balázsi. We should call her that probably. I don't know her first name. Try to look it up, but we only know her like kind of married name. So she showed up at the local police station to file a complaint. Did you want to comment anything on the name or ask?
No, I was just like Mr. István. I don't know, like Mr. István and Mrs. Bolashi, right? Okay, yeah.
Well,
21
Balázsi
year
is
old
the
last name,
last name.
right? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And
yeah.
István is the wife's
Er,
husband's name, first name, right?
István is the husband's name. Yes,
Yeah, yeah,
husband's
yeah,
first
yeah,
name. Yes,
yeah, yeah.
yes.
Okay.
So I'll
Yeah.
just say Mrs. Balázsi because I guess that's a little bit easier.
Mhm.
She, yeah, decided to file a complaint. She told kind of a detailed story to the police of what happened to her. I will tell you this story in like more or less detail. So stay with me.
Mhm.
So she told the police that she visited Szolnok, I think the day before, for a job offer at an industrial kitchen. She was looking for a job, so she traveled there for this job. But then by the time she got there, it turned out that this position was already filled. So she decided to just head back home, went to the railway station. Around 4 p.m., when she was waiting there with her suitcase at the railway station, a young woman named Piroshka approached her. Note here that this is not the same Piroshka as one of the victims who disappeared
Mhm.
before. Just
Yeah.
same name, not the same
Yeah.
person. They started chatting and just kind of got like friendly. They kind of liked each other, and then Piroshka suggested to her that, well, you know what, like, why don't we just spend the afternoon at the amusement park here and have some fun, and then I will help you find a job later or something. So first, because Mrs. Balázsi had the suitcase, they first went to the nearby Soviet station, where Piroshka had he knew one of these soldiers and asked him to guard the suitcase until the evening. They're coming back for it in the evening. So yeah, they left the suitcase there and they went to the amusement park, where apparently, and I don't know how they managed to do all this in one afternoon and evening, but in the amusement park, they met with some men, and they started having fun with these men, and soon they kind of separated from each other. So they went on their separate ways with the, I guess, two men that they met at the amusement park.
So when you say had some fun, do you mean like sexy good time or like what do you
Probably,
Okay,
probably.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So
I don't know
Mrs.
if she went
Bolassi
into.
was, yeah,
Well, yeah.
extramarital maybe affair or something,
Yeah,
or
like none of the sources like said this explicitly, but I mean, it sounds like she was married, and then I don't know.
yeah.
I was like, okay, well, why not?
Mhm.
Um, you know, losing track of my notes. Okay, so the two women agreed that in the evening they will meet at the train station, and then Piroshka will give the suitcase back to her, like get it back from this Russian soldier and give it back to her. And Mrs. Balázsi was waiting at the station for Piroshka, but she didn't show up at all. She was waiting there the whole night. She really wanted, of course, to get her stuff back, but nothing happened. So in the morning, she spent the night at the train station, and in the morning, she went to the police station to report her like stuff being stolen. And one of
Mhm.
the police officers offered to help her find Piroshka. She knew that Piroshka works at like a construction site or something like that. So they just kind of went around and found her pretty quickly. And then she was like, "Oh yeah, no worries, I will get the suitcase back to you. So it's fine." I don't know. She just didn't have time to go to the train station in the evening. So they immediately left together, the two women, um, they went back to the Soviet like station to find the soldier who apparently wasn't there. He was on duty. So then Piroshka said that, well, this is not going to happen today because he's not here, so we can't get your suitcase back. So now Mrs. Bolari was kind of like getting a little bit like afraid that if they separate again, then she's never going to see her stuff. So she agreed that the two of them can travel back to Törökszentmiklós. So now they are in Szolnok, where Piroshka lives, and then they can spend the night there and then come back again in the morning for the suitcase. So that's what they did. They went back to Piroshka's house, and then she offered a drink to Mrs. Balázsi, who didn't really want to drink, but then she was really insistent on it. So she took like a little sip of this like palinka or vodka, but she found it.
No, don't drink it. Does it
Yeah,
smell
she
like
found it.
almonds?
Yeah, I think this Piroshka is very suspicious person.
She's
Yeah.
a bit suspicious, yeah.
Like, if this isn't a
So
movie, I'd be like, "Don't do it. Don't go with her. Fuck, you had one chance to get away.
yeah,
No."
well, she did. So she like drank a little bit. She found it too strong and also like odd tasting, so she didn't drink the whole thing. She started feeling a little bit sleepy soon after that and wanted to lie down. But apparently, this house, Piroshka's house, her mother also lived there, was like extremely dirty and like messy and everything. So she didn't really want to lie down in the kitchen on the bed. She asked Piroshka to give her a blanket, and she went outside in the garden, laid it down under like a mulberry tree, and then fell asleep quite quickly. Meadow is stepping on my keyboard and standing in front of my notes. 1 second.
Yeah.
But that
Astrid's being
is
nice. She's yeah. Astrid's being a good girl. She's sitting next to my computer.
Oh,
Mm.
but
nowadays,
yeah, I just wanted to comment that that's one dirty house if you rather sleep in the garden than in the house.
yeah, yeah. And this was like September. I'm sure the weather was still nice. So I don't know. Yeah, she was like, okay, I'm gonna chill under this tree here. She fell asleep. I don't know where I was in the previous sentence. Hope you can figure this out, Laura, when you're editing.
Mhm.
She fell asleep, and then a little later, when she was asleep, she woke up because she felt that like something's going on next to her, and she noticed that Piroshka is kneeling beside her, and she's trying to reach her neck.
Oh God.
Sorry, Meadow again. And then she realized that she was actually trying to put a wire around her neck and trying to like
Fucking
strangle
Christ.
her. So she freaked out immediately, like grabbed her throat and started screaming, jumped up. Um, and then, well, I don't know, there are a lot more details, but basically then they started struggling and then fell to the ground, wrestled a little bit, and then eventually Mrs. Balaji managed to free herself and escape from the scene. And from here, she went to the police station immediately.
Mm. Good on her. Yeah.
Yeah. So first, the police like didn't really want to believe her. I guess I don't know. They were a bit like reluctant to investigate this. The police also knew Piroshka, like she was well known in this meadow, ripping apart the chair. So the police also knew Piroshka. She lived in this town. She was kind of well known for a variety of reasons that I will talk about later. But then eventually they decided that, okay, well, we'll go and question her. So the police went to the house, found that Piroshka was home, her mother was home, their children were home as well. And
Children? Did Piroshka have children?
she had children, yes. I will also
Okay.
talk about that a bit later.
Mm.
Yes. Yeah, Piroshka was taken into custody the same night. And in the book that I read, which was written in like a little bit like novel style, one of these police officers, I think, he talked, and a lot of these people who were involved talked to the writer. So he described that like as they were going to the house, he was like walking on the porch, and he noticed that he like kind of stepped on something weird, like something hollow under a metal plate on the porch. But he kind of found it suspicious, like what could be under this metal plate. But it was dark, so they just took Piroshka into custody, and he noted that we should come back tomorrow and search the property. So that's what they did. They went back the next morning, and the first thing that they found when they went into the house was like a pile of clothes. Some of them seemed quite familiar to them, because by this time they knew really well what the girls who disappeared earlier were wearing on the days of their disappearances.
Oh.
So they were like, well, yeah, this looks like those girls' clothes. So they first like took this pile of clothes out, and then they started opening up or like lifting up this metal plate and looking under that. It actually turned out that this was a well that was covered with this plate, and it was very deep, like 10 to 12 meters deep. So first they just kind of dropped a rock into the bottom of it, realized that, okay, this is super deep, very dark also, we can't see anything. And then they did like a variety of things. And in the end, they managed to borrow a lamp from the neighbor, and they lowered it down to the bottom of the well. So after this, in the book, there are a lot of like graphic details about what they found in the well. I'm not gonna go into all the details, but basically you can probably imagine by now that they found the bodies of all the 5 girls who disappeared earlier, and they were in, of course, different stages of decomposition at this point. It actually took them several hours to recover all of the bodies from the well. They had to like descend many times and lift them out. So after this, the police arrested Piroska while she was already in custody, and her mother as well. They lived together, and they assumed that she must have, she had to have known about these murders that took place on the property.
Mm-hmm.
So they
Wow,
recovered
this
these
is
bodies.
horror.
Yeah, it's gonna get worse.
Oh, okay.
Kind of. A lot of, I think, yeah, well, you'll see. So first there was an identification process. They invited the parents of these victims to identify the bodies, and actually some of them or all of them, I'm not sure, but they said that they don't recognize them. Maybe they couldn't recognize them, which would not be surprising, I guess, at least in some of their cases, because they were like the state of the bodies was not great. Like the well was also like this moist place. There were some water in the bottom that didn't help with preserving the bodies. And also maybe they just kind of, I don't know, they just didn't want to believe that it's their children. So after the autopsy, none of the families wanted the bodies of these children to be sent home to them. So on September 7th, a few days after this whole thing came into the light, they were laid to rest in the Kőrösi Road Cemetery in Szolnok, in like it was called like a place of honor, or like a grave of honor paid by maybe the city or the state, and it was paid for like the next 100 years. So that's where they are buried currently.
I really don't understand, like, why you don't want to. I understand that, okay, maybe you don't want to see the body, but then you could, crematory, and then have a, like, why wouldn't you want to have a stone for your child?
I don't know,
it
like
seems a bit odd.
yeah, and it's weird because who else could it have been, right? Like these bodies. It's
Yeah.
kind of, I don't know, like every source that I read, it seems to be a fact that these were these victims, but also that like the parents were always kind of questioning this, and no, this wasn't my child. Maybe they're still like out there. I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, I
maybe
get
it's
that
a
it's
kind
not.
of psychological, like,
Yeah.
defense reaction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah.
So now I will go to the like details, or like the history, the family of the perpetrator in this case. So Piroska, and I'm also going to talk about her mother a little bit. And yeah, you can just stop me and ask questions if you want to. But Piroska's mother, her name was Borbála Jancsó. She was born on May 1st, 1909, into like a very poor family. She apparently had 16 siblings, and 14,
Jesus.
14 of these children died in infancy. And
Wow.
2 of them, or no, actually 12 of them died in infancy. 2 of them committed suicide later. So altogether, the 2 of them who were alive were Borbála, so Piroska's mother, and her sister, like one of her sisters. Their father died when Borbála was still very young, I think 8 years old, and his death left the family with no income. So this resulted in Borbála dropping out of school at a young age. And due to this like very desperate financial situation, at age 16, she began doing sex work and actually had several children from different men. I can't remember how many children, maybe 4 or 5. One of these children was Piroska.
Mm.
So this is the background. Piroska herself, her full name was Piroska Jancsó Ladányi. Jancsó is the mother's family name. Ladányi is the father's name. She was born on January 15, 1934 in Törökszentmiklós. Her father's name was Gyula Ladányi. He was a local farmer and he actually had a family, like he was married, he had other children, and he didn't recognize Piroska as her daughter at all.
But
So
she still got the name. That's interesting. Like,
I don't know if it was officially her name or not, because
Yeah.
sometimes I just see her named Piroska Jancsó, and then in other sources Jancsó Ladányi. So I don't know if she might have gotten the name. I'm not sure if it's like both of these last names were like official.
You said she was born
I
in. Oh, sorry. Yep.
Yeah, I was just going to ask more about the naming. So maybe he was still like officially recognized as her father, but just not like didn't want to have any contact with her. But I mean, in the papers, anyway, we seem to know. Yeah.
Piroska had a half brother from a different man, and I read that so in the first like years of their life, they lived in a lot of like different places, and like I don't know, like not like didn't have like their own house. And when this half brother's father, who was also like kind of a similar situation, so he didn't recognize this boy as his son, still when he died in the war, the son inherited from the father, even if he wasn't recognized. So that's how they got this house where everything else happened later. So maybe it was kind of big, like similar with the naming as well, that this was part of their official name. The father's name was part of the official name.
So, just to clarify, you said that she was born in 1934, or
Yes.
okay,
So
yeah,
she
so
was
she was
20
20.
years old. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
When these events are happening, she's 20 years old. Okay, yes, I told you about the house. So this house where they lived, it was considered sort of as a brothel by the local villagers. It was described as a very like simple farmhouse. I think it had 2 bedrooms and this kitchen, or maybe 3 bedrooms and the kitchen. It was painted yellow, and there's like some interview with a kind of a social worker maybe who visited this house. So I read this description in the book, but it was described as extremely messy, very dirty. 2 of the 3 rooms, there were 3 rooms. 2 of the 3 rooms were used for like as a storage place, just kind of storing all sorts of garbage, and the whole garden was really messy as well, with a lot of like full of weed and stuff like that. So it wasn't a very well maintained place. By the age of 13 or 14, Piroska also started doing sex work, which is according to the time, of course, because like now we would just say that it's abuse if a 13-year-old is doing sex work. But yeah, so already at this young age, both Piroska and her mother were doing sex work at their home, or partly at their home. I read that her mother's clients were mostly Hungarian. Some of them paid with like, with food and stuff like that. And Piroska got very close with the Soviet soldiers who were stationed at a local farm. So that's when through this work was how she got to know these soldiers and befriended a lot of them, apparently. Piroska didn't really have any like quote unquote honest jobs in or during her life. She had some jobs, like this construction job and like different like similar things, but she often quit, and she was also caught for like stealing and other like petty crimes several times during her life.
I mean, normally I would say sex work can be honest work, but not when you're 13 or 14. So
Yeah,
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 that's just fucked up.
yeah. It's like just that's why I said quote unquote, because this was like how
Yeah.
one of the sources phrased this, that they didn't have an
Yeah.
honest job, but I mean, this is like problematic on many, many levels.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
it's not about the honesty, but about I mean, they were like odd jobs in a way
Hmm.
that
Yeah,
do a
yeah.
bit of that, do a bit of that.
You mean also the other jobs that she was taking? Because she didn't really stick with any of the jobs. She just had like
Yeah.
whatever kind of
So
came up.
nothing permanent.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I guess except for the sex work and also, yeah, stealing and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I also read that Piroshka she did go to school. She completed the 5th grade, but then she didn't continue after that. So she obviously wasn't highly educated, but a lot of different sources say that she was constantly reading books and novels and even anatomy books. She was writing poems. She also spoke Russian, and later psychiatrists say that she had above average intelligence. So she was pretty smart. A lot of different people say that she was actually very smart. But of course that doesn't correlate necessarily with like how much education you have. She had like potential. She was not unintelligent. So the local police knew her well. I mentioned this. She was considered to have loose manners by the local police because of the sex work, because of stealing and all that. And also by this time, she already had 2 children of her own, allegedly from 2 different Soviet soldiers. One of these soldiers she considered her fiance, or boyfriend, maybe fiance. But this soldier was already taken back to the Soviet Union, and I read that she tried to run away several times to the Soviet Union. She tried to get there to reunite with her fiance unsuccessfully, but I don't know, she was always like brought back. So just kind of everything about her personality that I read, it's very interesting. There are a couple of different things that the different sources mention about her, like general demeanor and personality. So some of the people that were interviewed later, or who were asked about what she was like, always mentioned that she was actually very kind. She was shy. She was always helpful and empathetic. And even one of the nuns who were a teacher at the school where she was going mentioned that she was actually a nice girl, and just kind of they knew that she's doing this like frowned upon stuff, but
Living a
yeah,
sinful life.
yeah, living a sinful life, but she was like otherwise a nice girl. So this was what some people said about her, and then other accounts mention her cruelty, or that she was cruel. Her mother says in a testimony later that she always had trouble with Piroshka. She was often cruel with other children. She was hitting them, or like she liked causing pain to other children. She also mentioned this weird thing that Piroshka liked raw meat, and she suspected that she was killing stray dogs and cats in the neighborhood. Sometimes they had like kittens, and then the kittens disappeared, or these like stray animals just kind of suddenly disappeared. So this is what her
Fucking
mother
hell.
does about her. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's already the sign of a serial killer right there, right?
Yeah, it's a
Uh,
very suspicious. It's kind of an unlikely serial killer, or like a weird, like not your typical serial killer character, but yeah,
yeah, but like that, like, yeah, the triad thing that, people talk about is like one of them is harming animals because, if
yeah,
you can harm an
starting
animal, you can
fires,
definitely, yeah, yeah. Or what bedwetting, but
bed
bedwetting
wedding.
hadn't
And Paul
really.
Ho said that bedwetting is stupid. That's like probably
Yeah,
true.
I've always thought that too because I'm like, okay, like there's plenty of people who wet the bed like in their, like okay, past when they should, doesn't really mean
Yeah,
much.
sure.
So,
Well, it could mean a lot of things, but not necessarily that you're going to be
yeah,
serial killer.
yeah,
I
yeah.
wouldn't I don't think these are really like that type of like something you can tell that will happen in the future, but these are symptoms of something that is happening to children now. So if a child is bedwetting or killing animals, there's probably something bad going on in the family. I mean, that would be the modern
Yeah.
social welfare state. Like, oh, let's take a look. Maybe the parents are abusive. And
Yeah,
in
yeah,
this
yeah.
case, I think she's kind of, having symptoms of being raised in a very horrible environment.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that there are children who harm animals and then they don't become a serial killer. So it's more like the other way
Right.
around, that someone is a serial killer and then you're looking back and it's like, oh well, okay, they were already doing this stuff.
It's
Yeah,
kind of
but I
like
think
they
like
don't become serial killers because they were killing the animals, but it's an early symptom, and if
Hmm.
nothing is done, they will end up going worse and worse, like
yes,
violence wise.
yes, yeah. As I'm looking at my cat and I'm like, I would never harm you, Astrid.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. And I mean, it's not normal
No,
for children
Yeah,
to
yeah,
harm animals either way.
yeah.
But then,
no.
yeah,
It's a symptom of some kind of, they are either experiencing violence or like seeing violence or being otherwise neglected.
yeah. Yeah, so harming animals, but also then other things that are mentioned about her is, well, there's this like sexual aspect that comes up in different accounts, and in addition to the sex work, because that's one thing that we already discussed. But then her mother also told this story, for instance, that when one time when she and her sister, so Borbála, the mother, and the mother's sister, left Piroshka and her half brother at home. They went to the neighbors. They had to return for some reason unexpectedly. And when they returned, they found Piroshka naked on all fours on the floor as she was forcing her 7-year-old half brother to perform oral sex on her. And she was
And
scolded for this. Sorry.
she was how old?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. Well, younger
Like,
than 20, for sure. I think
but
she
this
was
was
a child.
post starting her career as a prostitute.
I should have looked that up. I'm not sure when this was. It might have been. Yeah, it might have been when she was
And
over 13 or
even
14.
if it wasn't, I mean, her mother was also doing sex work, so that might kind
Yeah.
of
I think,
mess
yeah, like
her
this is
mind.
like not a nice thing, but in itself, this one incident would not be, I don't know, like, you know,
Yeah, of
so
course, sometimes
weird.
children do really indecent thing when they
Yeah.
are just trying out stuff, and
Yeah.
Yeah, because I
it
was
was
like, if
just
she was
one-off
also
case.
7,
Yeah.
yeah, if like
No,
she
I
was
don't think
7
she
or
was
8 or
7.
something like
She
that.
was older. I think she was a little bit
Okay,
older than that. Yeah.
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
But
Not
yeah,
saying
she
that that
was
would be okay either,
no,
but like
no.
just yeah,
But
but
I mean, this is kind of just an interesting detail they mentioned that this thing happened, and then she was scolded for this, and she was really ashamed, and she even like took like a bottle of medicine and attempted to overdose herself, and then she survived. So I don't know. So this was like a traumatic incident for her, I'm sure, and for everyone probably. But then maybe like more interestingly, Piroshka also talks later about how she kind of, so in this animal abuse as well, there was some like sexual motivation. She describes that she tried to like force the genitals of two cats together, and of course they didn't like this, so she kind of tied them together with some like string or twine, these cats. And then she ended up killing them and dissecting them with a particular focus on their genitals. So I don't know.
I mean, it just sounds like she has definitely some sexual trauma
Mm,
from yeah, I just wonder what happened earlier in her life too, because I mean, if your mom is a sex worker, no big deal. But the thing is that if they were having the clients at the house and they
I'm
only have a
sure they
few
did.
rooms, and
Yeah,
so she was kind of exposed to the
Yeah.
sexual encounters and
I'm
whatnot
sure
way,
she
way
was for
early, way
sure.
too early.
Yeah,
Yeah.
also just her whole childhood was very unstable. They lived at all of these different places before they moved into the house. And I think they were very poor.
Yeah.
There were also some people saying that they kind of didn't, even when they had money, they didn't really spend it smartly. Her mother was just kind of spending it all on, I don't know, whatever fun stuff whenever she had money. So not really saving up. Or this was like not like a what you would consider a normal household now or even then.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we will go to the confessions and the trial. And of course, due to the nature of these crimes, the trial was actually held in private, so it wasn't open to the public, and only the parents of the victims attended the trial. So throughout the trial, Piroska, she gave several conflicting confessions. First, in the first confession, she said that, well, she did these murders, but she also had 3 accomplices, and she named like 3 different people that were also involved in these crimes. I'm not even gonna like list all the details about this because pretty soon it was verified that these people had nothing to do with the crimes. They all had very strong alibis. One of them was, for example, in prison during this time, so they all like immediately kind of excluded this as a possibility. Yeah, this was her first confession. Then she had another testimony. I think this is all like within a few days. So then during the next interrogation, she said she named several Soviet soldiers as the main culprits of these murders. She kind of described what happened with each of the, or what these Soviet soldiers did with each of these victims. And I'm not going to go through each of them separately. Basically, the gist of the confession was that she claimed that these soldiers demanded her to bring them untouched little girls, untouched quote unquote, this is what she said, so very young girls, because they wanted to like sexually abuse them, and she helped them cover up these crimes and hide the bodies in the well. She also said that she helped them with murdering these girls after the abuse to kind of cover everything up, because these soldiers promised her that they will help her get into the Soviet Union, since she wanted to keep in contact with her child's father, so her fiance. So yeah, this was actually kind of a very detailed confession about like which soldier did what, who was present in what case. What do you think about this story?
I don't know, it sounds to me like part of it was truthful, in the regard that there was this sexual fantasy of underage girls or like untouched girls and
Mhm.
murdering them and sexually assaulting them. So I think that she was telling the truth about that, but it wasn't the soldiers, but it was her sexual fantasy about it. So
Yeah,
yeah.
but also this kind of, I mean, this would make sense, right? Like I think this would be, in my mind, a more likely scenario than um, like this fantasy motivated female, like 20-year-old female serial killer.
I don't
Um,
know. But like given her
no?
history, looking at her
Well,
history, I
yeah,
would say it looks more likely like that she would have done it. I don't know.
yeah. She
And then
does
of course
change her
using
story again, but yeah,
yeah,
I think the
but
second
I was
one was
just
kind of like, meh.
yeah, I was just thinking like with the Russian kind of like blaming the Soviets is a bit, well, no shit that she would do that too, because then it's kind
Sure.
of she gets sympathy from the Hungarians, in the
Mhm.
town
And
versus,
this was
like
anyways
everybody.
one of the speculations that it was the
Yeah.
soldiers.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
because
I think
soldiers are very easy to uh,
blame,
blame
easy
for that kind
scapegoat.
of, yeah,
Yeah, in my opinion too.
because they actually do
Um,
that kind of crimes. Like,
Sure. And also the police didn't really want to or couldn't, were not allowed to investigate the Russian or Soviet soldiers either.
uh,
yeah,
convenient.
and then also the other thing too is that for the 21-year-olds, what was it? Mrs. Bolaji, the
Hmm.
that just kind of goes out the window to me
Yeah,
because
exactly.
21-year-old, obviously untouched because she's married. Okay, maybe they could have had a. Okay, doesn't mean that. Okay, she could have gotten married recently and still didn't consummate the marriage, for instance. But
Well,
I mean,
yeah,
she
but
knows that she went
based on
off
her
with like.
story,
Yeah.
yeah.
But she knows that she went off and probably had sex with one random guy that they met at the fair or the
Hmm.
theme park or whatever,
Amusement park, yeah.
amusement
Mhm.
park. So that goes out the window, and then she is the one that offers the drink to make her go to sleep, and
Yeah.
then also is basically trying to murder her before being sexually assaulted. So
Yeah,
I,
exactly. So I was thinking the same that yeah, but then also Mrs. Balaji, like she didn't mention anything about any like soldiers being involved. It was just,
yeah,
she herself told the whole story of what happened to her, and nothing
yeah,
like this was involved there. So that
yeah,
would be kind of the exception, I guess, if this is true, that otherwise it was the soldiers who forced her to um, or like blackmailed her, I guess, into, I don't know, like bringing her these girls, and then she just helped with. Well, she did say that she helped with the murders, that she strangled them and like threw them into the well and all that.
but like, what was the point of getting Mrs. Bolaji is the thing? Like, why did she try to murder her?
Exactly.
She didn't need
Yeah.
to. Like,
Yeah.
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 So I
True.
think I just take it as I don't believe her story, like at
Yeah,
all.
Yeah.
I don't believe the soldier thing because. And why would the soldiers use her for that anyway? Like,
I mean, I can kind of
I'm
see.
sure if soldiers can just go and, do violence.
Eh,
It sounds weird, but I mean, why would you need a random girl there in between?
I
I
mean, I
think
think
because
this part could be explained. Yeah, sorry.
yeah, I was about to explain it or like try to, because I was thinking like at the very beginning to get these younger girls away, without causing a scene, you have to
Yeah,
have either someone who's trustworthy, like a female, or also a younger girl or something like that, or someone that they know, but that can't be the case with everybody.
Yeah.
that's true.
So I thought it must have been like a female in this regard because all these places that they were abducted from were um, quite
Public.
public. And
Hmm.
then they were also, no one said like, oh yeah, and she walked away with Piroshka or whatever, if everybody knew who she was. And it's kind of goes like, she kind of hides in plain sight because everybody knows her. It's kind of like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not out of the
Well,
ordinary.
some people, turns out later that some people did say this, that they saw the girls with Piroshka, but you know,
Okay.
police didn't really look into it. But anyways, it's not like something that's super suspicious, that this like friendly girl or like young woman comes up to you, chit chats, whatever. It's not like she attacked them in public.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I could have imagined this, that like, yeah, she was just assisting the soldiers or like helping them find these victims, and that they offered some sort of a reward. I mean, not that this would make the story a lot better if this was true,
Yeah.
but yeah. Um, there was another thing I wanted to mention later, but yeah, maybe I'll tell you first what her next confession was. So on the next day, right after this previous testimony, then she changed her story once again, and allegedly because she was told that one of the like specific soldiers that she accused of being the main culprit in these murders and sexual abuse already left the country earlier in the summer, so he could not have done
Yeah.
these murders. But I also read that this is not confirmed, like not the source of this information, or if this was even true, or like this is just a comment that I read somewhere, that they told her this, and then due to this she changed her testimony again. But I don't know if this is really the case. So anyways, in the next confession, she admitted that, well, actually there were no Soviets involved at all. She was the one who committed the crimes due to her attraction towards women. And in this account, she also claimed that she realized at the age of 15, when she read a book that she found at like a fair or something, that she's attracted to women because this book featured very like graphic illustrations of sexual acts between women, and she didn't confess earlier because she was ashamed, and she's still ashamed of this. So that's why she came up with the stories. But the whole thing was kind of coming from her shameful, sort of, according to her, and I guess the society at the time, attraction towards women.
I mean, yeah, because all lesbians are serial killers, right? Isn't that?
Yeah, yeah, sure.
No, I'm
Like,
joking, but
I mean,
yeah.
of course, yeah, of course, this wouldn't explain. This is just, I mean, this kind of adds a piece to the puzzle.
But I think it also kind of makes sense also, like judging from a lot of the serial killers, for instance, like Dahmer or whatever, where they also feel a bit ashamed about their sexuality, and then they
Hmm.
also target younger men or around the same age or something, boys or men or whatever, like of the
Yeah.
same gender, basically.
Yes.
And yeah, that is indeed a shameful thing. That's why they kind of enact the murder upon these people. So I can kind of see that part too, but it's also like so all of it's kind of coming together like this abnormal psychology, right?
Hmm.
Like there's the
Yeah.
the part where she says, she had the sexual fantasy and like the dissection and that type of stuff and whatever for
Yeah.
animals and whatnot, and then also was curious with the girls and whatnot, and then now this aspect, it kind of makes sense in my mind, like
Yeah.
fully.
Yeah. Also funny that you mentioned Dahmer, because I saw some comments online where they were kind of comparing her to, or saying that she's like a female version of Dahmer, and there are a
Ah,
lot of kind of similarities in the story.
okay. Yes, it looks like my brain is not the only one who thinks this way. So
Yeah.
great minds
Yes.
think alike. Yeah.
Yeah, but the kind of the whole shame aspect comes up later as well. Not just because, like, she changed her confessions many times, but in Rubin's book that I mentioned, he talked to, or interviewed, or just had a discussion with one of Piroshka's cellmates. So later, she will go to prison. This is probably not a huge spoiler here.
Sorry.
Um, And this cellmate, who, by the way, also described her as kind of a nice and kind and very shy person. So she didn't really say anything bad about her. But she also mentioned that Piroshka described, when they got into the same cell, she was like asking why she was there. And Piroshka said that, well, it was actually, she had this friend, another girl, who committed these crimes, and she was helping her. And then she got like kind of, she helped with the cover up, and that's why she got into the prison. So she kind of told the story but didn't put herself as the perpetrator in the story. So yeah, she was clearly ashamed of this. But then the cellmate mentions here in this account that she knew that this is not true and what actually happened, but didn't want to kind of conflict with her, didn't say. So she kind of just went along with the story. But yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
So yeah, okay. A little bit more about the details. Not a lot of the, well, some details about the actual, like, murder and how they went down with each of the victims. Just just to have the story like complete. So and then just to tell you what actually happened to the victim. So first, she described, Piroshka says that she actually knew the first victim, Maria Komaromi, from a few months before, and then she noticed on this day when she was murdered, Piroshka noticed that she's waiting in line in front of this vegetable shop, and just went there, started chatting with her, and then convinced her that, well, the line is very long, let's like leave, do something else, and we can come back later. So, and this is what I mentioned before, that actually there were a few witness testimonies at first when this first victim disappeared that mentioned that they saw them together in the company of some Soviet soldiers. So I don't know, there were some Soviet soldiers involved there. They saw them like walking away together in the same afternoon. And they also, this comes up later as well, so Piroshka wearing this victim's shoes the next day and reported this to the police. But yeah,
Interesting. So an 11-year-old has the same size of a shoe as a 20-year-old.
I don't know, or maybe the shoes were too big for her, but someone saw her wearing the shoes. Someone saw her wearing the shoes. But yeah, so there were some witness testimonies saying that, well, I guess like maybe we should look into Piroshka here. And the police didn't want to investigate this lead because the Soviet soldiers came up and they were not authorized to search their like base, and they were also probably afraid to do so. So they just kind of, told the parents that, well, she probably ran away, and then you should stop coming back here every day asking about it. And yeah.
Yeah.
So
Why
there
is
were a
it
few.
so that in each story we have the police are always so incompetent?
Yeah, well, not
Yeah.
always. Maybe we should look for. I'm sure, like there are a lot of stories, of course,
Next
where
time
they're
I
not
will
there was the
Google
incompetent.
story.
like the best, like the cases where investigation was top.
I mean, Kone Eris one, the last one that
Yeah,
you
yeah,
read
that
there,
was
that was
actually
pretty
a
good.
good job.
That was good.
True.
That was a good
Yeah,
job. The what was it? Ulakko, Operatio Ulakko.
Ullakko,
Yeah, yeah.
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 So Piroshka testified that they went back to her house with the first victim, Maria, and she gave her a book to read, and then she started reading this book, and she went behind her with a wire and started strangling her. And then she actually strangled her and undressed her after this, or I guess when she was already dead, and then sexually abused her body and then dragged her out to the porch and threw her into this well. So there are a lot of details about what she did specifically with each victim. And it's kind of similar in each one, and it's very horrible. So maybe I'm just gonna give you a summary. I'm not gonna tell you all the details of what happened during this sexual abuse with the victims, but her MO was pretty similar in each case. So she met the second victim, Piroshka Hoppa. So this was the victim who had the same first name, at this market where she was selling her chickens, and she told her that, oh, I will buy all your remaining chickens, just help me bring them back to my house. So that's how she lured her back to the house. Then the third victim, Irene Shimon, she was the one who was a little bit older, 17 years old. They were friends, apparently, before, and Piroshka claimed that they actually had consensual sex several times before with Irene. And she decided to kill her because she was afraid that this secret might be revealed, and then people would know that she had these unnatural tendencies or something, how she referred to them. And they were seen together in this afternoon. So there were also witnesses who saw that Piroshka was with Irene the same afternoon, which in itself wasn't surprising because they were friends. But then they also saw Piroshka wearing Irene's clothes the next day. And then she just said that, well, she gave them to me because she owes me some money and I will give it back when she gives me back the money. Or she had some sort of story about the clothes.
Interesting.
Yeah, the fourth victim was
Maria.
the girl who was waiting at the bus stop for her relatives to pick her up. Piroshka just approached her and told her that, well, I actually live in the same direction. I can help you carry your luggage and show you where the relatives live as well. So that's how she lured her away. And the fifth victim was close to the railway station, probably when she was coming home or leaving to this wedding, but she probably coming home because she told her that she will help carry her luggage as well. And that's how she managed to get her to her house. So in each of these cases, she described that she strangled the victims and she sexually abused them and did stuff like, I don't know, penetrated them with a broomstick, sitting on their face, things like this before throwing them to the well. And she usually used a wire for the strangulation, except for the fifth victim, she actually strangled her with a Soviet military belt, which was found on the neck of the body as well by the police later. And I read that the police actually ended up covering up this evidence because this was very like politically charged. This was Soviet military belt, and they didn't want to, I don't know, push the Soviet aspect of this story. Yeah. And the sixth victim we know escaped.
Yeah, luckily.
Yeah, I don't have much left. I'm gonna go to the like sentencing and stuff like that, but anything about the MO that you want to comment on?
No, just it's always a pity that like this internalized homophobia is kind of just a downward spiral for like people who are a bit mentally unstable. And yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like everything went wrong here, I think, for this person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just it's definitely, I don't know, like a lot of these serial killers you can kind of like, oh well, it was definitely this thing that happened in their childhood, or well, they kind of had like a normal childhood, but what happened later? Were they born with it, or that type of stuff? But this one is definitely the foremost like kind of scenario where you can definitely see in childhood how she was formed to be how she is and
Yeah.
whatnot.
It was
Yeah.
extremely messed up because already her mother's childhood was horrible too.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sure for many generations, and especially in the era, I don't think most people had an amazing and easy life. But
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, I'll go to the sentencing and a little bit more about the trial still. So later on, after she confessed to these murders and abuse, she also testified that her mother also knew about the murders. And she, I think after the first one, she asked her to bring victims who have good clothes and money because they could sell them. They did sell some of the clothes as well and got some money for the victims. And they also took some money from the victims as well. And as a result of this testimony, the court sentenced both of them to death. Then the mother's sentence was eventually changed to life imprisonment after a request for pardon was submitted. But I don't know. The mother was sentenced only based on this testimony, so there was no like other concrete evidence against her that she actually, or like how much she was actually involved in the murders.
Yeah.
I mean, I think she kind of was. Like, okay, let's say that she's doing sex work still out of the house. She's there mostly, probably also in the evenings where most of these murders were kind of, or middle day, evening,
Yeah.
or at least half of the cases in the evening. And I just think that the mother had to have known more because, I mean, you have to strangle someone with a fucking cord and then do the okay, maybe she wasn't there for the sexual part, but at least she was.
Maybe, but she was
I
at
don't know.
home for sure in the last
Yeah,
case. Mrs.
yeah,
Balázs was saying that
yeah.
she said that the mother was home, and she also said that they were kind of annoyed with Piroshka, like why she brought her back here, like who is this random person? So clearly they were home when she
Yeah.
attacked her.
But it's also kind of curious that if she had two children also hanging around,
Yeah,
the
one of them I
children
think was
ever.
very young, like maybe not even 2 years old. The other one was like 3-ish.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, I mean, also to like lift up the plate to get them into the well as well. Okay.
True. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
yeah,
takes.
actually,
Yeah.
yeah, sorry,
No,
finish
I
the
was just
sentence.
no, I was just thinking that also takes. You can't really, I think, do that quietly, kill someone, do sexual assault, and then at the end, like go to the trouble of like carrying this limp body, even if there are maybe half of your weight or something down the well like that. Yeah, so that's
Yeah,
just my
true.
opinion.
Related to this, I put some pictures in the in the folder. If you want to look at them, maybe this is a good time to look at some of them so you can see how Piroshka looked like. There's a picture of the well, picture of the house. There were some pictures that I didn't want to show you necessarily. Some even more graphic ones, but you can see some of the like circumstances there. So the first Picture is just the
Oh,
book cover.
Jesus.
The one on the
Are
left
those
is Piroshka. Hmm?
fucking hell. I was okay. Okay. Whoa. I was not expecting the last one. That was a bit
Oh
surprising.
yeah, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, there
Hmm.
were some more.
Cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I don't know. This didn't really look like a well, but I think this was an old well, and when they
Yeah.
built the house, somehow it was built around it or something.
Yeah, I think that's quite common in older houses and farms and stuff. Like the well dries up or whatever, and then they build
Mhm.
foundation over it.
Yeah,
Fuck.
what do you
Yeah,
think about Piroshka? She looks kind of, I don't know, nice, just on the picture.
Yeah.
yeah, except for those eyes. I just like when you do the covering up most of the face, but except for the eyes, then it kind of looks a bit, I don't know, calculating in my mind. But
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, true. But on the first one, on the book cover, I think she looks really friendly.
Mm,
She's the
yeah.
one on the left.
Yeah, she looks a bit more full face there. Like a bit younger, maybe,
Yeah,
possibly.
maybe she's younger there.
Yeah, it looks
Yeah.
like an official photo.
Mm.
The title of this book, you can actually see it on the photo, is the one that I was talking about, Apró Szentek.
Mm.
It means little
Little
saints.
sense. Yeah. Fuck.
Yeah. Okay. So I have a little more information for you left. Did I mention that how her mother died?
No.
No.
Okay. So her mother went to prison. She got life imprisonment, and then she ended up dying in a prison hospital in, I don't know if it was in the 1960s or exactly 1960. No, it must have been in the 1960s. Yeah, end of the 60s probably, because this writer that I mentioned was even visited her and talked to her about Piroshka.
Mm.
So following the arrest of Piroshka and her mother, um, Piroshka's half brother and Piroshka's children, so these two young children, so all of the three children, they were all underage. Piroshka's children were very young. They were taken into like a child protection institute in Szolnok, and later on all of them were adopted. I think the youngest one at least, or maybe the two young ones, so basically Piroshka's own children, not her half brother, they didn't necessarily know later who their mother was, or they kind of gave them some kind of different story about their background.
Yes, that's probably better.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
And then on December 12th, 1954, so only a few months after all of this was uncovered, 20-year-old Piroshka Jancsó-Ladányi was hanged in the Szolnok prison. Her final wish was to see her son, Mihály, but this wish was not granted. I think they tried to find her son, but by this time he was already in like a foster home or something like this, so they couldn't find him immediately on the same night. In the book, Szilárd Rubin is talking about, or like he also talked to one of the prison guards who knew Piroshka from before as well, and spent the last night in the prison before she was executed with her. And her account, or she was also kind of sympathetic. Like she said that Piroshka looked like very broken and very. She really just wanted to see her son. She kind of accepted that she will be executed, but she was waiting until like the morning, or like 3 a.m. or 5 a.m. For her son to arrive. But that didn't happen. And then in the morning, she was executed.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think some of the family members of the victims were present, even though some of them, I think, still didn't believe that this was their children, or, were like questioning the whole story.
Yeah. But I mean, she kind of knew where they were at, the story about
Mm-hmm.
the fruit or the vegetable market and whatnot, and
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
bench.
And
So
the clothes, like the children's
yeah,
clothes found and all of them. So I think this is pretty clear.
yeah,
It was kind of interesting that this writer, Szilárd Rubin, who wrote the book, he suspected the Russian or the Soviet soldiers' involvement more. He thought that that was more likely. And he could not like talk about this publicly until the regime change in 1989. But he tried to get hold of the case files. A lot of them were classified, so he couldn't actually read the testimonies or many of these case documents at the time. He requested them also later on, but I think, yeah, they were still classified, so he didn't have all of this information, even though he did a lot of like field research, talked with a lot of people. And this was anyways kind of the general consensus, but some people thought that, okay, maybe it's the soldiers. And then I mentioned that he passed away in 2010 and the book was released in 2012. And then later I now found a series of articles that were released in 2015, written by a journalist named Géza Mészáros, who got access to these documents. And then a lot of these things that I told you was based on this article. So the officially accepted story today is that Piroshka was the perpetrator in these murders. And yeah, even though she's not a typical serial killer character, maybe. But I don't know. Yeah. Well, we discussed this, but her testimony, otherwise, the final testimony would be also just like oddly specific if this was not true. Like, why would she come up with such a detailed, yeah, story about, yeah, all of those things that she did? So yeah, that's it. It's not, I wouldn't say that it's a super well-known case, definitely not internationally, but I think it's one of the more well-known ones. I didn't hear about it for a long time, only like at some point last year. But you can find anyone who's more interested in the details, some of the things that I didn't tell you. There's actually a lot of like smaller details out there. You can find more information about it online. I also recommend reading the book. If someone can and wants to, it's I think only available in Hungarian. There are some YouTube videos and podcast episodes in English as well. I don't know how detailed they are. I think this was pretty detailed now, how I told you the story.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
yeah.
but that's it from me. Any final thoughts?
Thanks for censoring most of it. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, could have been a bit worse. Like, yeah, I think preparing us for the worst, I think it wasn't that bad because, yeah, also you ended up not going into too many of the gory details, for instance, but yeah.
Yeah, I felt like they are not really necessary for understanding the
Mm,
story. Or
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah, I think sometimes
Yeah.
just telling all those little details is a bit like sensationalizing the case.
Yeah,
But
I
there
agree.
are details, and I did say some of the things, but I think yeah, I just try to like leave it at the necessary level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
so sorry for
it's
this.
Oh,
sad
it's good.
story.
I mean, it was an interesting case because, yeah, like you said, it's not the typical serial killer because it's a female, and also
Mhm.
sexualized female serial killers
Yeah.
with children is quite rare.
Yeah,
I can't really
Yeah,
think
and
of anybody.
also so young. Like
Mm,
I don't know. I always like when you say female serial killers, you think like Aileen Vuornosos,
yeah.
and she was already older, like
hmm
seen. But I'm then again, Piroska also had Piroska. I mean,
yeah,
Piroska.
Piroshka.
Yeah,
Yes,
had also seen
I
quite a
should have
lot.
written the
I
name.
assume. I mean, her life sucked, I would say.
hmm
So for her age, I think she had already lost all the innocence that
Yeah. I
child
mean,
should have.
they should like double the age back then, so it should be like,
Yeah,
I don't know, 40. She was like mentally 40, but she was physically 20 or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I just feel bad for all those young girls because, yeah, you think that
exactly.
it's in a small town, like obviously less than 20,000 from the 50s and
Yeah. And
looking
also, I'm
price.
sure that the family is like never, truly recovered from this. It's like,
Yeah.
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 Too.
So yeah, this was pretty bad. I'm glad I read the book. A lot of these like details about what happened to the victims are not in the book, and like a lot about the circumstances and the characters are in there. But then the other details I got from these articles. Also because, of course, like I said, the writer didn't have access to the testimonies and these case files, or not all of them at least.
Yeah, I still kind
Yeah.
of question the involvement of the Soviets, but that's just
Yeah.
me.
Maybe
I mean,
like
not the
someone was involved in some of these. I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't know
I'm
if that
sure it
kind
was.
of changes the main conclusion of the case.
Yeah, I still think she did the murdering and the sexual assaults, but who knows? Like, it could have been that the Russian soldiers could have also sexually assaulted them, they killed them, and then, okay, like, who knows? But I just feel like at the end there was no Russian soldiers around, so with
Yeah, that's true.
the 21-year-old, so.
Yeah, I think that's one of the details that I think it gives it away kind of for me. And the other one that was the cellmate who says that she had this like different story about about a friend, not her,
Yeah.
committing the crime. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Just
Yep.
it wasn't consistent. She wasn't consistent in this story about the soldiers.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think a lot of people even later questioned this and thought that it might be the soldiers. I don't know if we will ever know the exact details, but this is the kind of the best I could do with the research.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah,
Good to
what
see.
would you say? Was this the worst that we've had so far, or I don't know?
I think like this is because it involves children, it kind of already ups the factor of why it's
Yeah,
like
that's
really
true.
shitty. But then I was also thinking the monster of Mortfu was also pretty bad. So I think
Yeah,
these two are the worst. So yeah, congratulations, Victoria. You brought us the
thank
two
you.
worst cases so far.
Yeah.
Great. Both from Hungary.
Yeah. In
So
the same
proud. No.
area too. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. Okay, but yeah, thanks for listening to this.
Yeah,
What are
thanks
we
for
going to talk about next week?
good question. Whose turn is it? Is it Petra's turn or my
Is
turn?
it my turn?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Let me think. I have some options.
Mm.
Maybe we could go to the mountains of Japan. Would that be
Ooh.
interesting?
Nice. That sounds very nice. Or, well, probably
Yeah.
it's not going to be very nice, but the mountain
But the
part.
location, yeah, sounds idyllic. Yes.
Yes, there will be at least extreme leftists.
Oh,
Oh,
okay. Okay, so political
Mm,
stuff.
Yes, we can keep being political. So a
Yeah.
bit older case.
Okay.
great.
Okay. Cool. Looking forward to
Looking
that.
forward to that. Yes.
Yeah.
Same here.
Thank you, Victoria. And I don't think I need to do the sign off. Just listen wherever you're listening. Like the podcast. Send us an email if you want to. You've probably heard it before. So yeah.
Do all that, please.
Yeah, do all that. Parola.
It would be really weird if this was the first episode someone was listening, but who
Yeah,
knows?
Like, they're
true.
not even telling me. Well, just Google the name, you'll find it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll
I mean,
find it.
someone
You'll find
could,
our website.
like, if they just want to know about this case and they Googled and whatever. Anyway,
Okay, just find us if
listen to
you
the
want
other
to.
episodes too.
Yeah, please.
Yes, please
Okay.
do.
Hey, parola. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.